Hi and welcome. My name is Steve Morris and I'm a certified EOS implementer and a business coach. And welcome to your 2025 Goal Mapping Masterclass. My objectives from this class is to help you get the best 2025 you possibly can through being able to map out your vision, set your goals, and then put the things in place that are truly going to help you be able to attain your goals. Now, I call this masterclass a navigator's approach to a successful year. And as a business coach, I help two different types of clients. I work with leadership teams of small to medium-sized entrepreneurial businesses. And I also work individually with driven entrepreneurs, executives, and professionals. And throughout all of this work, I'm helping and guiding my clients get to where they want to go to with their businesses, with their lives, with their energy, their work, and their relationships. Obviously, the topic of goal setting comes up all of the time. So in this masterclass, I've put together the things that I've learned, I've applied to myself, and I bring to my clients to help all of us, myself and all my clients, get to where they want to go. And in particular, some of the things I'm going to be relating in this masterclass, I have really found to be revolutionary for myself over the last year, over the last few years, as I've been gathering these tools together and applying them. So I want to share what I've learned, and my goal for you is that you will be able to see these tools and to be able to apply them immediately in your lives and help you get better starting straight away. Now, I want to acknowledge you. I want to start off by acknowledging you. You're here watching this course, and not everybody chooses to do this, right? Not everybody chooses to be a revolutionary in their own lives, to choose to shift what they're doing, where they're going. And so I want to acknowledge you for being here today and watching this course. In watching this course, I want to create the possibility for you that what you're going to learn here in this course is going to change your life forever. Now, I know that that's a bold statement, but I've experienced incredible changes for myself over the past few years by applying these tools, so I can say it with confidence because I know it works for myself and I bring it to my clients and I know it works for them too. And as I said, I'm going to talk about simple ideas that you can apply straight away, simple practical tools that are going to make a difference in your life. And then finally, the second outcome from this course is that if this resonates with you, there's an offer at the end of the course, a gift of a 45-minute coaching review session. There's going to be a workbook that's associated with this course, and I'm offering to get on a call and review that with you, the work that you've done in that workbook for free. So I'm going to talk more about that at the end of the course. So now diving in on this navigator's journey, I had a really cool and interesting start to my career designing multi-million-dollar racing yachts and building and coaching teams to help our clients win some of the world's most demanding yacht races. So you can imagine working with these high-profile teams, like setting goals, bringing a team together and putting the things in place to be able to go achieve those goals was paramount. And the winning teams that I worked with, I really saw and experienced how that process went together, and I was a part of that. And then I've also worked with some teams that, despite having all of the resources, were not able to achieve their goals. And I experienced that too. Now I bring all of those tools that I've learned in my experiences and everything I've learned since then as being a student of goal setting to my clients. I bring all of this work to my clients to really help them be able to level up and get to where they want to go to with their lives and their businesses. So starting off working with leadership teams of small to medium-sized businesses, I use the framework of the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. And when I'm working with my clients, we start right at the top with what's the vision for the organization. I just work to get everybody on the same page about where we're going and how we're going to get there. And then the second part of the work that I do is really helping that leadership team develop discipline and accountability becoming masters of execution in bringing their vision to reality. And then the third component of what I work on, and it's kind of almost my favorite component, is really helping that team figure out how to work together as a healthy, functional, cohesive leadership team. Because sometimes they're not. And then, as goes the leadership team, then soon so goes the rest of the organization. And we just get everybody on the same page, seeing the same things, wanting the same things, everybody heading in the same direction. So that's the work I do with entrepreneurial leadership teams. Then when I'm working with driven professionals and entrepreneurs and individuals, I work using a framework called positive intelligence, and this is mental fitness training. And I'm going to talk a lot about this through the talk today, but really mental fitness training is all about being able to see what's going on with your mindset and to be able to see when your mindset is serving you in a positive way versus the times when it's sabotaging you and slowing you down and holding you back and stopping you reaching your goals. So through my masterclass today, I will be weaving in some of the tools and techniques and frameworks that I use both from EOS and from positive intelligence to help you be able to achieve your goals moving forward. So there's going to be 4 parts to this masterclass. I'm going to start off part 1, just where are we going, right? Talking about if we're going to set off on a journey together, where's that destination going to be? In part 2, I'm going to talk about how you set goals, how we go about setting goals to be able to achieve that vision of where you're going. And then part 3, I'm going to go into how you put powerful systems in place to be able to really help you achieve your goals before I get to part 4, which is going to be about how we actually navigate that journey. So there's 4 parts here. And throughout these, there are simple, practical tools that if you can implement those tomorrow, I promise you it's going to help you be able to have a better life and get to where you want to get to with your life and your business. So I'm going to start off here with a quote from Yogi Berra. I love Yogi Berra quotes. If you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else, right? Very simple quote here, but it really sort of speaks to this idea of if we don't sit down and reflect and think about what it is we want and where we want to get to, we're just going to be kind of wandering around aimlessly and we'll just wind up someplace else. You know, there's an analogy with when you have using like Waze or Google Maps or something like that, you just can't type in, I want to drive around, right? You actually have to type in a destination for those apps to help you get to where you're going to get to. And so everything we're going to talk today is kind of like a GPS for your life where you want to get to. So diving in on part 1, let's talk about how we set that vision, how we set that destination about where we want to get to. I start off when I'm working with my leadership teams, my clients, we look at something that Jim Collins called the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. Now, Jim Collins wrote in Good to Great with all of the research that he had done on businesses that were more successful, that beat the stock market over the long term, really that they had a long-range, motivating, inspiring goal that really kept everybody aligned in the business about where it was they're going. And then the trick is, of course, to get the whole team to be able to see that, get on the same page, everybody rowing in the same direction. So starting off with thinking about that for yourself. What is it that you want long term? What is your big, hairy, audacious goal? If you can start thinking and reflecting on that, figuring out like what is it that you want, that will start providing that direction, that vision for where you want to get to. So I'm going to take that concept and I'm going to bring it a little closer on down to the ground. So in creating your vision, one tool that I have found to be incredibly effective is to put yourself in the future. Pick a date, and let's say this is like 5 years out from now or more. You can even go further if you want. I find most of my clients tend to sort of go 5, maybe 10 years out. And you pick a date and then put yourself at that future point out there in the future and start thinking about, looking around and like, what does it look like? If you put yourself in the future and start looking around at your future self, your future life, what does it look like? And then how does it feel? How do you feel in that future time? And in particularly, my third point is, who are you being in that future time? And I'm going to talk more about this in a moment. So as you put yourself into the future and start imagining what it's going to look like, 5 years from now, my second thing is to be selfish in this, to write it about you, to think about you rather than others. The reason why I say this is because honestly, really the only thing that you can control is yourself. You can't control other people, and setting your vision for yourself is about the things that you can control, the things that you can change to get to where you want to get to in the future. You can't be responsible for other people's desires or whether they want to be happy doing certain things. So be selfish in the greater good of what you want to achieve for yourself. So this is the starting point, setting that 5-year vision. Now, in the workbook that goes along with this masterclass, we have a page 1, and it's just a single page, some lines on it. I would encourage you to go sit down somewhere where you can reflect and where you're not going to be interrupted. Like for me, I go to a coffee shop and I just sit down with a nice cup of coffee and I start thinking and, sitting down with this vision statement and thinking and imagining, putting myself in the future and start writing down what does it feel like. Then the next step is we take that 5-year or further out, if it was 5 or 10 years out, we just bring it a little bit closer down to the ground and set what we call a 3-year picture. So 3 short years from now, the end of 2027. And once again, placing yourself in that future place, I'm putting this question on the table here, which we call the Dan Sullivan question. This comes from Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach. And he says, once again, sitting in the coffee shop, if we were having coffee 3 years from today, and you were to look back over those 3 years to today, what has to have happened, both personally and professionally, for you to feel really happy about your progress? Right? So once again, we're using this future thinking, placing yourself into the future and looking back and thinking about what are all of the things that you would have liked to have done in your life or to have had happen in your life for you to really feel happy about the progress that you've been making. So that's the setup to place yourself in the future and to think about that. How you actually record this, I've got a couple of different approaches. Approach number 1 is just going forward 3 years into the future and just writing down bullet points. Write down bullet points of what you see your life has been like. We've moved state, we've bought a new house, I've got a new job, those sorts of things. I'm working on my health. Just bullet points about what you want for the future. And 5 to 15 bullet points is kind of the rule of thumb. Don't have to make it too complicated, but just to paint this picture of the future. The second approach comes from a couple of coaches, Dave Schwenderman and Steve Chandler. And this approach taps into your feelings of gratitude about the future. So you can start writing down a sentence. I am so grateful for the past 3 years, right? So once again, looking forward into the future, going to the end of 2027 and looking back and just thinking, I'm so grateful for the past 3 years. In the past 3 years, I have, right? And then you fill in the rest of that sentence. In the past 3 years, my time has freed up, whatever it is, right? In the past 3 years, my business has grown. In the past 3 years, my health has really improved and my fitness is now the best it's ever been. I'm so grateful for the past 3 years. So once again, putting yourself into that future, looking back, but really tapping into your feelings in your heart, feeling grateful about that progress that you have made, the things that have shown up in your life. So those are two different approaches that you can use to be able to capture that future, that 3-year picture, and get it written down so that you can actually see it. I would encourage you as you're doing this to actually use a pen and paper. There's a lot of psychology, a lot of research around actually writing stuff out longhand with a pen and paper. I think it's much more effective, the research has shown, versus typing it out, because it sort of really does sort of tap into some of those circuits in your brain that are more deeply wired to help you be able to take those sort of more deep-seated thoughts and bring them out into a way that where you can see them and we can do something about them. Now, as I'm coaching my clients and also working on this for myself, I sometimes find that this concept comes up, this condition comes up, which I'll call the I'll be happy when syndrome. We're all just humans, so if you ever find yourself saying, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when I get that new car, I'll be happy when I get that new house, I'll be happy when winter's over and summer's here, you just know that you're normal. This is what we do as human beings. But what I'm wanting to do here is to really just highlight that this can be a train of thought, a mindset that may not be very useful. And I generally find that for myself and for my clients too, that the I'll be happy when syndrome, when we're putting happiness out into the future based on some external circumstance or condition, that we're having our happiness be conditional on that. And it obviously leads to sometimes a lack of happiness and a lack of fulfillment in your life. So if you find yourself in that place where you're saying, I'll be happy when I get that new car so I can go for a drive in the mountains and then I'm going to be truly, happy with my life. Notice that. And I'm going to give you a tool now to help you be able to do something about it. And so the way this works is, as I sort of, take that sentence that I just said, when I have that new car, I'll be able to go for a drive in the mountains and then I'll be happy, right? This is, if I extract that out into an equation, the things I have will enable me to do things, and then I will, be able to be happy, right? That's what the construct of what's going on in our minds. And the thing is that we can actually look at the reality of how we get the things in our life and reverse engineer this equation to really be able to get to the heart of what it is that we need to be being actually to be able to have the things we want. So if we flip this around and start off with the things that we want to have, right? These goals that we're setting in our life, where do those come from? The goals that we get in our life, the things that we have in our life, come from our actions, the things that we do in our life. Now, I'm sorry, I'm one of these people, I don't believe, that you can sit on the couch watching sports on TV, eating Doritos and drinking Pepsi and manifesting $1 million, right? It's just not going to happen. You've got to go out and take action, have agency in your life, do things so that you can end up having things. I believe the universe rewards the deed, not the doer, right? So what determines the actions that we take in our life? What determines the things that we do? Well, it's our thoughts, our feelings, right? What's going on inside that ultimately determines the actions that we take. And what's going on inside, our thoughts, our feelings, it's our inner stance. It's the place we're coming from. It's who we are being, right? Who we are being internally that ultimately creates the possibility for the actions that we end up taking in life. And the actions we take in life help us get to the things that we want, get to those goals that we're setting. So this is a fundamentally important concept that when I've really woken up to this and applied this concept in my life, it has fundamentally changed the way that I approach my life. There's a quote here from Seneca, the Firestarter Street. Many people go around building lists of things they want to do, right? Setting goals, right? But few address their operating system, the way they show up in the world, right? And the way you show up in the world is your inner stance, the things that you think about, the things that you are feeling that are being the genesis of your actions. So what I'm saying is here, you always have an inner stance, right? It may not always be a useful inner stance. It might not be helpful. Maybe it is sometimes, right? But you always have an inner stance to any situation. The key is you can notice your inner stance, right? You can notice how you're showing up, your operating system, where you're coming from to a certain situation. And the real key thing is that you can choose to shift your inner stance. This is something that I have found revolutionary for myself, and I bring to my clients. The fact that you can shift your inner stance to a situation is revolutionary in terms of helping you be able to achieve your goals. So this is a fundamental point, and I encourage you to think about this, reflect on it, and start applying it to your life. So now let's start diving in a little bit more. Having set that vision, having talked about, well, who is it that we need to be in order to do the things that we want to achieve our vision? Now I'm going to get a little more granular in terms of how we go about taking that vision and breaking it down and setting goals. So in the work that I do, there are two different types of goals that you can set. There are result goals and there are activity goals. So what's the difference? So result goals are things that is a destination point out in the future, right? And something like, well, I'm going to get fit, right? I want to get a new job. I want to spend less. I want to learn tango. I want to reduce my body fat to 20%, right? It's some goal that's out there in the future. In my experience, I really find that sometimes these result goals can be written sort of very vaguely and more sort of like as intentions versus actual specific goals. And I sometimes think, that we're coming up on January, and January is, of course, is the boom month for gyms. Everybody's like, yeah, I want to get fit this year. Go sign up for a gym membership. And then, of course, the reality is by the time February comes around, the gym's a ghost town again because people haven't really been very specific about what these result goals look like. So one of the things that I work on with my clients, and this comes from my project management background, is getting very specific about what does done look like in a goal. In other words, how do we know we're going to actually achieve our goals when we get there, right? How do we know that we've reached our destination? So we've got to get very specific about writing out what does done look like, right? What's the end point for the goal? And when I work with my clients, of course, we talk about SMART goals, meaning specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, right? We want to be able to get very clear about writing SMART goals. If they're too lofty, if they're too pie in the sky, if they're too much like smoke dreams, we're never going to get there. So then activity goals can be, I think, an easier way of being able to write goals that actually really help you achieve them. So activity goals are based around things that you're going to do more on a monthly, weekly, or daily basis, but more really attached to like who you are being. And I'm going to talk more about this in a moment. Activity goals might be things like I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to take tango lessons every week. I'm going to avoid drinking when I go to networking events, right? These are things that I'm going to look at the activities that I'm doing. So rather than the destination, but the activities that I'm doing and setting goals around that. So to dive in a little bit more, and setting an activity goal like going to the gym every day, as I talked about, setting SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Well, is going to the gym every day realistic? What happens when you have to go away on a business trip and you miss going to a gym because you're on a flight? or you get sick, right? These things inevitably happen. So if we make this goal not realistic because we say we're going to go to the gym every single day for a whole year, and the first day we miss, what does that do? Does it blow the whole goal out of the water? So what I see for myself and what I encourage my clients to do is to be realistic and to really look at thinking, well, if I want to go to the gym, right, that sort of more nebulous goal of just getting fit, how am I going to do that through an activity goal? What's a realistic activity goal? It might be going to the gym 5 days a week, 5 times a week, and maybe I can probably do that across a whole year for 48 weeks. Okay, so that if I do that math, it comes out to 240 gym visits, right? So then you can set a goal of 240 gym visits. And at the beginning of the year, you've now got 365 days in front of you to get 240 gym visits in, right? And it sets up a situation where you can give yourself some grace, right? Because when you are sick or you go on a business trip or something else, the inevitable life happens things and you miss a day or maybe even miss a week, you've still got the ability to be able to make up that goal to get your 240 gym visits in and to be able to achieve your goal by the end of the year. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some ability to flex, give yourself some ability just to take on, the things that life brings and structure these goals in a way that you can get to the end of the year and feel successful. You put a check in the box. I managed to get my 240 gym visits in across the year. It really allows you the room to be able to succeed. So then, having set goals, the next part is I want to talk about setting powerful systems to help you be able to achieve your goals. And what do I mean by this? Well, there's a great quote here from James Clear in Atomic Habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, right? This is a fundamental point here that I really would love you to be able to bring on and take to heart, because you're setting lofty goals. This is great, but the ability to attain those goals really is about falling to the level of your systems. And if you think that this is a relatively new concept, well, there was a Greek poet, Archilochus, who wrote about this 2,500 years ago, right? And slightly different wording. We do not rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. And the Navy SEALs have a very similar quote as well. But their point is, this is why we train hard, right? And my point in this is why you're going to put systems in place to be able to help you get to your goals, because falling into your systems and having your systems catch you is so much easier than striving up the mountain to be able to achieve those goals against all odds. Put systems in place, fall into them, have them catch you, and help you get to where you want to go. Now, Stephen Covey has another quote. You can see I love quotes. Your systems are perfectly designed to get the results you're getting. Oh my gosh, when I hear this quote, it really does stop me in my tracks, especially when I do have something in my life that's not working quite the way I want it to. It makes me think, well, if I'm not getting what I want right now, what systems do I have in place that are perfectly designed to be getting me the results that I'm currently getting, right? And this really provides a moment for me to be able to go take a clarity break and reflect on that. What system do I currently have in place that's perfectly designed for the results that I'm getting? So as an example of how I apply this in my life, I follow Dr. Peter Attia, a wonderful doctor who puts out an incredible amount of information online about health and longevity. And he has this vision, which I sign up for and really want to get to, called the Centenarian Olympics. And what he means by this is to, have that vision for when you're 100 years old. What does it look like? When I talk about having that feeling, what does it feel like in the future? Can you bend down and pick up your great-great-grandchild as they come barreling into your legs and pick them up and give them a hug? What does it feel like to be walking on a plane when you're 100 and putting your bag in the overhead bin of the plane, right? These are sort of to be able to look forward into the future and how is it going to feel to be healthy in that future point, right? So that's the vision. And then Peter Attia breaks it down into exercise goals around stability, around strength, around aerobic performance, and around anaerobic output, right? So these are goals, and he has some, specific conditions around that. What I saw in my life was that I didn't really have a system for being able to achieve these goals. My existing system was, I would set my alarm, I'd get up in the morning, and then I would be like, okay, now what? Oh, I'll get on YouTube, I'll find a 20-minute follow-along video, and I would do that, right? And I didn't really think I was making much progress to the exercise goals that helped me get that vision of the Centenarian Olympics. So a little while ago, I decided to change my system. I got a new system, and that system is I hired a fitness coach. And that fitness coach has now set a series of weekly workouts for me with very specific things. So my system is now I get up in the morning, I open up my phone, there's an app, there's a workout in that app, and I follow that workout. And if I do that consistently, week after week, I am going to make significant progress towards my goals of stability, strength, and aerobic performance and anaerobic output that get me to that vision of the Centenarian Olympics. So if I break this down then, as you are setting each goal, I want you to list out and reflect on what's your current system in place that's going to help you get that goal. And then think about, is that system workable? Is that system truly going to support you? If you fall back into that system, is it still going to get you to your goal? Or does it not work, right? This is not about you. It's just the system in place. Does it work or does it not work? And if it's not working, if you think, well, my current system is not going to help me get to the goal, then what system could be put in place that might work, that might help you get to that goal? So that's the reflection exercise. Another system that I work on for myself and my clients is something we call a clarity break. Clarity break is going to a coffee shop or somewhere else where you can sit down without interruption, put your phone away in your bag, or better yet, just leave it in the car or leave it at home, so you're completely without interruption. And to be able to sit down with a blank sheet of paper and think about what's going on in your life. What are your systems? What is working? What's not working? And for me, when I take clarity breaks, and what I advise my clients to do is to break down the clarity break into reflecting on your energy. How are you doing with your energy, your sleep, your fitness, your eating, that sort of thing? Looking at work, what's going on with work, with business development, with your clients, with your finances in your work. And then what's going on in your relationships? Are you staying connected to your family, to your friends, to your partner in life and things? So to be able to this is the system, is to go and sit in a coffee shop, look at these things and figure out, is it working? Is it not working? What do I need to change? So when we put the goal setting worksheet together in the workbook, I've set up this format so you can write down your goals for energy, work, and relationships. If you're going to make them result goals, that's fine. If you're going to make them activity goals, that's fine. Please just write them as SMART. And then I've got a little checkbox on the right-hand side. Do you have a system, a workable system in place that's going to help you get those goals? And so I'd encourage you to go sit down in a quiet place and think about your vision. And then what are the goals? What are the things that you need to do in 2025 that are going to help you make measurable progress on your vision? Then, having set your 2025 goals, the next step is to bring those even closer down to the ground and think about, quarter by quarter by quarter through the year. So in the first quarter of the year, the first 90 days, what is it that you need to focus on? What is it that you need to put priorities on to achieve so that you can be 25%, of the way towards being able to attain your yearly goal, right? 90 days is about the right amount of time to really be able to keep those things in your mind, or keep them written down, to focus on them before coming back and taking another, larger clarity break and really reflecting of, am I on track with those goals? So take your vision, go to the 3 years. What does it look like? Bring it down to this year, set specific, smart, measurable goals, and then break it down to the next 90 days. What is it you need to get done? That gets you set for a very successful possibility for 2025. Now, in the fourth part is here to be able to navigate the journey. And what do I mean by this? Well, it's kind of what I was referring to before. People go join a gym in January. By the end of January, the gym's a ghost town because we need to put systems in place, right, to be able to navigate that journey through the year. And with another quote from James Clear, as you see, I love these quotes from James Clear. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you would like to become. Your habits provide evidence of your identity. I love this quote. It's such a wonderful metaphor, because sometimes you think, well, I'm not going to get my workout in today. All right, I'm trying to get my 240 workouts in for the year, but I'm not going to get anything. I only have 15 minutes today. Well, if we take this idea that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you'd like to become, maybe 15 minutes is good enough. Maybe 15 minutes of doing some stretching or some, light cardio, or a little bit of, strength work, body weight strength work or something. Even if it's just 15 minutes, you are taking action. And those actions are votes for the type of person you'd like to become. And once again, these things, these habits, right? This is what's becoming or pointing to your identity. Remember, I talked about be, do, have, right? So the things that we're doing, these votes that we're taking, are pointing to who we are being, what our inner stance is, how we're showing up in the world. So just to re-emphasize this, right? Action is the sole determinant of performance. The results that we're getting come from us taking actions. As I talked about before, where do actions come from, right? They come from our thoughts and our feelings. So as it says here, every action is created in one of three ways, right? How the world occurs to me, how I see the world, right? How I see others, and how I see myself, right? Those three things really determine the types of actions we take. And so what I'm talking about here is, right, the language that we're speaking internally is creating the actions that we're taking externally. So what do I mean by all of this? Well, let's dive in a little deeper, right? So is how you're seeing the world and showing up, is your inner stance coming from a place of abundance and love? Or is it coming from a place of scarcity and fear? How do you see the world? Do you fundamentally see the world as there is enough out there? Or do you see the world that there is not enough, right? This is your inner stance. And so if you take your inner stance, right, and it's coming from a place of abundance and love, then you will take actions in accordance with that, versus your actions, I'm sure you could see, would be very different if you're coming from a place of scarcity and fear. Do you see that things are being fundamentally done for you in the world, or being done to you in the world? It's a very different inner stance. To go in with some more specific detail here, what does coming from a place of abundance and love look like, right? It's positive, optimistic, being collaborative, long-term thinking, proactive, feeling contentment, feeling gratitude, working on your self-worth and confidence, coming from a place of generosity, right? And I'm sure if you can think about coming from that place, your actions would be very different and in accordance with that, versus if you're coming from a place of scarcity and fear. So we always have an inner stance, right? I've made this point before. I want to come back to it again and give you an example about how this applied to me. So in one of my coaching sessions with my own coach, I was going through and listing out my inner stance, right? I was feeling rushed. I was feeling my life was kind of status quo. I had been doing a lot of traveling, so I was exhausted. I was feeling tired. A bunch of things were not changing in my life. I had some back pain. My health was going downhill. Oh my gosh, you can sort of see as I wrote this stuff down, I was probably more in that sort of scarcity and fear mindset versus abundance and love, right? And so you can imagine that the actions I was taking at that time were coming from this place, were not truly as beneficial and as effective as they could have been. So working with my coach, we flipped this around, right? I saw who I was being, and I shifted my being and came up with a fundamentally different scorecard. What does this look like? It starts off from this place of every morning I write down, I say to myself, what would serve my business today in a way that is more playful, fun, and light? And then I list out the things that I need to do today. But starting with this sentence fundamentally shifts who I am being and starts my day off from that shifted place of being. The things that are on my to-do list might be the same things that they've always been. You know, I've got to get my taxes filed. I've got to go to a networking event. I've got to call somebody who's not calling me back. But now coming from this place, they are playful, fun, and light. It used to be that when somebody ghosted me or wouldn't call me back, I'd get pretty upset about that. Now it's just playful, fun, and light. Game on. All right, I'll try again in a month, a different way of getting in contact with that person. It's fundamentally allowed me to shift my being. And then, of course, the things that I do when I come from, hey, let's make this playful, fun, and light, are fundamentally different than when I came from that place of being tired, exhausted, and feeling run down. So this concept of being able to shift my being, when I imply this to my life, allows me to fundamentally shift. And there's this great, marvelous quote from my dear friend and awesome coach, Epec Williamson: speak your day into creation and see it happen, right? This is another part of my system that I do every day, is to speak my day into creation and see it happen. And I create every day to be a marvelous, wonderful day. Things are going to happen today. They're going to be as they are. Be that as it may, I'm going to create it to be a marvelous day. So navigating this journey, putting together, in the worksheet, there's a goal and habit tracker. And so the way this works is you set this up for a month, you write your goals or your habits down the left-hand side, you put a target number in there, but ultimately, as it's written across the top there, we're just putting a check in the box for the number of votes for the person you'd like to be, right? These are just votes, so you can vote your way through to your goals, put a system in place that you fall into that helps you be able to attain your goals. Taking that first step makes a miracle possible, right? So just sometimes these things can feel very overwhelming, or you're not sure where to start or what to begin. Break it down, take the vision, bring it to 3 years, bring it to this next year, bring it down to the next quarter, bring it down to the next month, bring it down to the next vote that you need to take for the person you would like to be. So that's the content that I have. That's the masterclass. I promise you, if you apply these tools, try them out, that you are going to experience a fundamentally different shift in your life. I know it. I've experienced it for myself. So I mentioned this before, but my offer is, if you've watched this video and you go sit in a coffee shop and you work your way through the worksheet, if you would like to get on a call with me and to review what you've written, go through that, and I can give you some feedback and some coaching around that, then my offer is a free 45-minute Vision Goals Systems Review. There's a Calendly link here, and I'm also going to put that in the notes so that you are welcome to book that time. And let's just have a conversation and look at what it is that you want to do to have an incredible and marvelous 2025. I will also be putting a Zoom up at 3 p.m. on Monday, the 23rd of December, 3 p.m. Mountain Time, just a quick 30-minute Zoom talking about my overall coaching program. So if any of this has resonated with you today and you'd like to find out more about how you can fundamentally shift your life in 2025, then I'll see you on this call at 3 p.m. Monday on December 23rd. And I will go through what it looks like to have a coaching agreement with me. And so thank you very much. I acknowledge you once again for taking this time. Thank you. And my sincere wish for you is for you to have a marvelous, incredible 2025. And if there's anything I can do to help support you in your journey of having that, please reach out, steve@stevemorriscoaching.com. Let's just have a conversation. Once again, thank you very much.